to everybody in Cyberlands, your favorite Babalao, at least I hope so, Omodun or Dileke, coming at you with another great video. This one is my third video on the Mejis. And for our third video, I want to focus on Iwori Meyi, our third. Before we start, give me the like, give me the subscribe, and let's get it in. Cyberland, as we begin to think about number 3, there's a couple of things about Iwori Meyi that stick out to me whenever I see this sign. Whenever I see this sign in a consultation, whenever I see this sign when we're doing an Ifa and we're bringing in a new Babalao into this world, Iwori Meyi strikes me as 1, logic, science, all right? One that is cautious. Wednesday, which is the middle of the week. When I start to think about these aspects and we start to lump it all together, it even makes me begin to wonder and think about the great philosopher Aristotle. And we begin to look at Aristotle and we begin to realize that Aristotle, in some texts, will even be recognized with Iwori Meyi, because they said that even Aristotle had secrets of Ifa that made him cross into certain sects of Ifa, even being so distant from the motherland itself, from Egypt and that region at that time. So let's not focus on that, and let's not make that the center point of our conversation. Let's talk about Iwori Meyi. But I wanted to give you context of Iwori Meyi specifically through the eyes of a great philosopher, someone that's documented, someone that's in history. More importantly, I want you to think about Iwori Meyi as the eldest of the apostles, the eldest of the followers of Orunmila. When we think about Iwori Meyi, we think about the number 3, right? Because before Iwori Meyi came Eyolbe and then Oyekun. But in all reality, Iwori is the oldest. Something to think about. He was the oldest in the celestial plane. But now he comes down to earth and he's not the oldest, because his other 2 brothers came before him. Why? Well, that's simple. Goes back to my original comment on Iwori Meyi is very cautious, very logical, wants to play things out before taking the risk. So guess what he did when he was offered the opportunity, and he was offered first before anybody else because he was the oldest in the celestial plane. He said, no, send Eyolbe first, down to earth. Because in Iwori's mind and the way Iwori works, he was probably one of the most effective and efficient diviners for Ifa that there ever was. He was Orunmila's right hand. So like any cautious leader, he's going to sit back and watch the show before he invests into that show. Hopefully you guys are following. So Eyolbe came first. Now Iwori comes. Now on the 3rd strike, here comes Iwori Meyi and says, you know what, I'm going to give this earth thing a try. That's what makes Iwori Meyi the 3rd. But there's a couple of things that I need people to realize about Iwori Meyi. Even though it was the 3rd, Iwori Meyi is not something to be trifled with. Iwori Meyi may not govern the day and may not govern the night like Eyolbe and like Oyekun. But Iwori Meyi is known for the effective and efficient nature of divining Ifa like no else. To the point where he was, even when he got to earth, he ran into problems trying to gain seniority over his younger siblings, his younger of the followers of Orunmila. To the point where those battles were no longer required. And he understood that. It took him a little bit to find the right way to go, but he figured it out. And he was able to make it happen to be one of the most prosperous people on earth. Iwori Meyi is so great that he even divined and did Osha, a consultation for the sun, the moon, and darkness, and was able to resolve problems for those grand divinities. Now, the sun, the moon, and darkness, that's a different pataki for a different time. But the moon and darkness did not follow through the ebos that Iwori Meyi mandated they do in the name of Ifa. So they're stuck in the rhythm and in the celestial lock that they're in now, where people don't really like the darkness, right? When you walk into a dark place, you want to turn on the light. You want to see the moon so far away that it's constantly changing its moods and has 5 distinct faces, 10 phases when it goes full circle, 5 and 5, right? Those are the things that we need to remember. Iwori Meyi was able to divine for these great beings. The sun, being the only one that actually complied, is now needed and necessary for human health, for agriculture, for life. You need the sun. And also the brightest star in our solar system. All right, so that's Iwori Meyi. But let's talk a little bit more. Iwori Meyi came down to earth and was able to divine and make not only himself great and prosperous, but there's a famous pataki that talks about the coral beads. If you notice one thing, if you go to England, if you go to the Middle East, if you go to Africa, the coral beads are some of the most prestigious stones that you will find. The coral beads you will find in different aspects of royalty, whether it's the crown or whether it's the necklace. You begin to see that the coral beads have a lot of beautiful aspects to it, to the point where a lot of times when people are babalaos or people have their awofaka or their ikofa, they actually are able to take those coral beads and find ways to put them along with their ifa in order to bring prosperity, because Iwori Meyi brings prosperity. Iwori Meyi reminds me of many different aspects of life. All right, when I look at Iwori Meyi, we look at a relationship with Ishu that is very unmatched to many other relationships. The thing that drives Iwori Meyi, I think, besides the logical thinking, besides the fact of prosperity, it's the conflict of the mind. This is why Iwori Meyi specifically, you hear a lot of people within our spiritual, within the spiritual sects or within the spiritual different sections, whether it's Osha, whether it's Ifa, whether it's Palo, Peritimo. A lot of times people don't necessarily like to work when the days are crossing from day to night. We typically mark it as 6 p.m. And you hear a lot of people say, hey, don't work at 6 p.m. or don't work after 6 p.m. Or if you're going to work after 6 p.m., you're working to do negative things or dark things. You hear a lot of those things. And believe it or not, that is born in the sign Iwori Meyi. Not necessarily meaning that that is what it's going to be. It's just trying to give people the understanding that the energies are changing. Remember I told you the sun did Ebo and the sun was successful. The moon didn't do the Ebo and was not successful. When you cross the pattern between positive and negative, there's an imbalance of energy that we need to look out for and be careful. And that is one of the main reasons why Meyi dictates that we don't work after 6. Not necessarily that we don't stop working, we just don't work for a little while until that imbalance is cleared out. And people may argue, and these are philosophical stances. The other big thing about Iwori Meyi that a lot of people forget is if you hold this sign has a lot of difficulties with childbirth, with having heirs to the throne. Kings that have come before us hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, everyone has suffered under Iwori Meyi the ability to have an heir. Those are some of the trials and tribulations of Iwori Meyi. So Iwori Meyi needs to focus on strengthening that connection with Ifeanyi Ishu in order to get that heir. We can talk about Iwori Meyi in many different aspects, but understanding that Iwori Meyi is a very effective and efficient sign. Iwori Meyi gives us the thought of logic. Iwori Meyi gives us the ability to critically think. Iwori Meyi is cautious and doesn't necessarily like to take risk. Those are all the things in Iwori Meyi that we need to focus on and remember when we look at Iwori Meyi. And remember the great ebos and divination that he did for some of the greats like the sun and the moon and darkness. Iwori Meyi. A lot to say, very little time, but Iwori Meyi, our third Meyi from our 16 Meyis, and we're going to keep chomping away. I'm taking a break after this one, and I'm going to jump back in, and I'm going to start doing videos on the Help Me Help You series, just so I can play catch up, because I need to play catch up. But with that said, Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche, everybody in Cyberland, thank you for tuning in. Keep tuning in. Keep throwing those comments out, and we will keep chatting it up. Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche.